There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream, it whispers. It comes in the form of someone smiling at you, but secretly hoping you'll fall. These are not your enemies, they are your frenemies. The people who sit beside you, but silently root against you. We all want connection, but not at the cost of betrayal dressed as friendship. Real friends cheer for you in rooms you're not in. Frenemies clap when you're close enough to hear them, but scoff when you're not watching. And that quiet sabotage, it takes a toll. You feel confused, ashamed for questioning it, and guilty for walking away. But let me tell you this clearly. You don't owe loyalty to someone who feeds off your dimming light. A frenemy doesn't clap because you succeeded. They clap because they think they have to. Their praise feels hollow. Their compliments come with an edge. And when you shine, they suddenly shrink or shift the energy. You might notice subtle one-upmanship. If you get a promotion, they talk about how easy your job must be. If you share a win, they quickly share theirs, louder and longer. These moments leave you questioning yourself. Did I make that too much about me? But deep down, you know it wasn't you. It's them refusing to let you have your moment. A real friend doesn't get insecure when you rise. They don't feel small when you feel proud. They don't see your joy as their loss. Frenemies are trapped in silent competition with people they call friends. And it's exhausting because every good thing in your life becomes a battleground. You end up minimizing your happiness just to keep the peace. But your joy is not a threat. You should never have to dim your light to make someone else feel safe in your presence. A true friendship thrives in mutual celebration. If someone can't be genuinely happy for you without comparing, resenting, or shifting attention back to themselves, they're not a friend. They're a competitor in disguise. And your soul wasn't made for that kind of tension. It was made to be seen, celebrated, and supported fully and freely. One of the deepest forms of betrayal is when someone takes what you shared in trust and turns it into a subtle blade. Frenemies are experts at appearing safe while slowly collecting your fears, insecurities, and private truths, not to hold them with care, but to use them as leverage when it serves them. At first, it feels like intimacy. You open up, you share a heartbreak, a family struggle, a dream you're still shaping, and they nod, they listen. Maybe they even comfort you. But weeks or even months later, that same vulnerability shows up twisted in a joke, in sarcasm, or in a moment of public humiliation wrapped in just playing. That's not humor, that's harm. They may remind you of your flaws when you're finally gaining confidence. They may bring up your past when you're trying to grow. And they always know how to hit where it hurts. Not because they guessed, but because you told them. That's what makes it so painful. You handed them the map to your tender places, and they used it to wound you. This behavior creates confusion. You question whether you're too sensitive. You wonder if you're imagining things, but your body knows. You feel small, exposed, and unsafe around them, even if you can't explain why. That is your intuition sounding the alarm. Real friendship honors vulnerability. It never uses your broken pieces as currency. It never turns your openness into a weapon. If someone makes you regret being real, that's not love, that's manipulation. You are allowed to protect your soft parts. You are allowed to set boundaries with those who mishandle your trust. And you are absolutely allowed to walk away from anyone who treats your vulnerability like a weakness instead of a gift. True support is steady. It doesn't disappear when you're struggling or change based on what you're offering. But with a frenemy, you begin to notice an unsettling pattern. Their support comes with invisible strings attached. It's available when it benefits them, when you're making them look good or when there's something in it for them, when you no longer serve their interests, or worse, when you outgrow the box they've put you in, their warmth quickly fades. You might notice how present they are when you're down, but the moment you start to rise, they're distant or cold. When you need encouragement, they're distracted. When you hit a high point, they go silent. But when they need you, you're expected to drop everything. That imbalance isn't friendship, it's emotional transaction. You begin to feel like you're constantly auditioning, like you're being tested without knowing the rules. You start saying yes to things you don't want to do just to maintain the peace, just to keep their approval. You find yourself questioning, am I doing enough? Or worse, what will they think if I say no? That's not how safe relationships feel. That's how control feels with a smile. Conditional support trains you to shrink, to please, to hustle for belonging. But you don't have to prove your worth to someone who truly loves you. Real friends are there when it's messy, inconvenient, or uncomfortable. Their care doesn't come with fine print. Their love isn't a reward for good behavior. If someone's loyalty depends on how useful, agreeable, or available you are, it's not loyalty. It's performance-based attachment disguised as care. And when you finally stop overgiving, when you set boundaries or stand in your truth, they may distance themselves. Let them, because the kind of connection you deserve won't flinch when you're no longer performing. You're not difficult. You're not too much. You're just finally unwilling to earn love from someone who only gave it when it suited them. That's not loss, that's liberation. Energy doesn't lie, even when people do. One of the clearest signs you're dealing with a frenemy is how you feel after the interaction, not during the smiles, not during the polite small talk, but the after. And what you feel is drained emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. You can't always explain it. The conversation didn't seem toxic on the surface. They didn't say anything obviously cruel, but something was off. Maybe they made a subtle jab at your choices disguised as just being honest. Maybe they shifted the energy to make everything about them. Or maybe they listened to you talk about your struggles only to make you feel like you're being dramatic or ungrateful. These people are energy vampires. They leave you second guessing your worth, doubting your perspective, or questioning your choices. You walk away from what was supposed to be a supportive conversation feeling smaller, heavier, less clear. That's not accidental. It's the effect of emotional misalignment, of being in connection with someone who doesn't see you clearly or value you fully. Over time, your body starts to notice it before your mind does. You feel anxious before hanging out. You rehearse what you're going to say. You shrink in their presence or walk on eggshells to avoid triggering their criticism or competition. That's not friendship. It's silent survival. Real friends energize you. Even when you're venting, even when life is messy, you walk away feeling seen, not scrutinized, heard, not hijacked. You feel lighter, not lonelier. If someone consistently leaves you feeling depleted, confused, or not enough, listen to that. Your nervous system is picking up what your mind is trying to deny. Love shouldn't feel like emotional exhaustion. Support shouldn't feel like a chore. Friendship should not require recovery time. You are allowed to prioritize your peace over politeness. You don't need a dramatic reason to walk away from someone who quietly drains your soul. The fatigue you feel around them is the evidence. And protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. There's a certain chill that enters the room when someone starts tearing others down the moment they leave. At first, it might seem like harmless venting or even a twisted form of bonding, like you're being led into a private club. But over time, you start to notice the pattern. They talk about everyone behind their backs, and then deep down, it hits you. You're not the exception. You're just waiting your turn. Frenemies thrive on gossip, but not the innocent, curious kind. They dissect people's flaws, mock their missteps, and turn intimate details into entertainment. They cloak it in concern. I'm just worried about her. Or I probably shouldn't say this, but make no mistake, this isn't about care. It's about control. It's about keeping others small while making themselves feel superior. And when someone constantly speaks with that kind of sharpness about everyone else, your body knows before your mind can justify it. If they do this to them, they'll do this to me. So you start holding back, you censor your truth, you keep things surface level because you no longer trust that what you share will stay safe. And that's heartbreaking. Because friendship is supposed to be a space where you can lay your burdens down, not fear they'll be broadcast the moment you turn your back. Frenemies use gossip as a currency. They trade in secrets, they collect your vulnerability and pass it around as social capital. But every time they degrade someone else, they're telling you exactly how they'll treat you when you're not in the room. Real friends don't sit in circles of whispers and shame. They speak life behind your back. They protect your name when you're not there to protect it yourself. And if there's a hard truth to tell, they'll bring it to you directly, not serve it to an audience for applause. If someone constantly criticizes, mocks, or betrays others the moment they walk away, believe what they're showing you. That's not loyalty, that's a performance of closeness built on cruelty. And you deserve better than being the next topic of their highlight reel of gossip. Choose people who build, not break, who defend, not diminish, who speak love in your absence, not poison. That's what real friendship sounds like. So one of the most powerful signs you're dealing with a frenemy isn't what they do, it's what you feel when you finally begin to acknowledge the truth. And the truth is this: just thinking about walking away fills you with guilt. Not because you've done something wrong, but because their presence in your life has trained you to put their comfort above your own peace. Frenemies are often charming, charismatic, and complex. They may have shared good times with you, shown up when no one else did, or made you laugh when you needed it most. And that history can confuse you. It makes you ask, what if I'm overreacting? Maybe I'm just being sensitive. Or worse, if I leave, who does that make me? That's the trap. They've made their loyalty feel like a prize, and your boundaries feel like betrayal. You begin to fear being called disloyal, selfish, or ungrateful. You feel a tug of war between your heart and your gut, one clinging to memories, the other begging for peace. And that's exactly why you stay longer than you should, because somewhere along the way, you were conditioned to believe that being a good friend means tolerating bad behavior. But guilt is not the same as wrongdoing. Sometimes guilt is just grief in disguise, the mourning of a connection you hoped would grow with you, not against you. Walking away from a frenemy isn't easy, not because they were good for you, but because you gave them access to the most vulnerable parts of you. And letting go of that bond feels like letting go of a piece of your identity. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your soul just because they once made you smile. You can honor the past without sacrificing your future. You can grieve what was without staying in what no longer serves you. Real friendships shouldn't make you question your worth or carry shame for choosing yourself. When you finally gather the courage to create distance, you'll feel something surprising. Not more guilt, but relief. A calmness, a return of energy that was slowly being siphoned off. Walking away isn't failure, it's freedom. It's not about proving someone wrong, it's about honoring what's right for you, and you don't need anyone's permission to protect your peace. Letting go is hard, feeling guilty is normal, but staying in a friendship that quietly breaks your spirit, that's far more costly. Frenemies don't show up wearing warning labels. They arise wrapped in laughter, shared memories, and half-truths. They mirror friendship while slowly draining your confidence, trust, and joy. And the most dangerous part, you stay because you keep hoping the mask will fall off and reveal someone who genuinely cares. But here's your permission slip. You don't have to keep loving people who quietly hurt you. You don't have to explain why their jokes cut too deep, why their silence stings, or why your soul feels heavy around them. You just have to trust what your body and heart already know. It's time to let go. Cutting ties isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You're not burning bridges, you're building boundaries. And every time you walk away from someone who dishonors your spirit, you walk closer to the kind of love that doesn't demand your silence, your suffering, or your shrinking. You deserve friendships that feel like safety, not survival, connection, not competition, growth, not games. Let this be the season where you choose peace over people-pleasing. Walk away fully and never look back.